Welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts Life and Happiness Podcast, the show that takes you on a journey of exploration. We'll discuss tried and true methods alongside the latest trends of how to best live your life to its fullest and happiest. From psychology to meditation, science to self-help books, the GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast will help you to discover what makes you happy and how you can live life being the best you possible.
Welcome to GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Alyssa Jo. Hello. How's it going today? I hope you're having a wonderful day so far. I hope you're feeling positive and good, and I hope the sun is shining wherever you may be. I'm back with more information to share with you, and I'm super excited for today's episode because I'm going to be talking about mental health. And mental health is something that I've always been extremely passionate about. As I've grown up, I've just always been educating myself more and more, just because I like learning about it. I think it's so interesting. Obviously, it's so crucial for our overall well-being. And the more that I can educate myself, the more I can educate other people on it, because I think mental health awareness is just so important. It is something that, it's linked to our bodies, which is kind of what I'm going to be talking about today, but our mental health is just crucial for our overall well-being and our happiness. And, really understanding mental health, I think is really important to improving your mental health, of course, right? There's so many different aspects of it, and understanding what you're going through, or maybe what someone else is going through, can just make things a lot easier. You can handle the situations a lot better. You're not thrown a curveball all the time. So the more I can educate about mental health, the more I will, because I just find it so interesting. So with all that being said, I will stop rambling on. Today I am talking about mental health and mental illnesses and how it directly affects our bodies. So of course, there's so many different links between mental and physical health. I've talked about it on this podcast before. I've talked about specific mental illnesses. I've talked about ways to improve your mental health, things that can help you, things that might make your mental health worse, especially during this pandemic right now. Isolation, being lonely, people are losing their jobs. It's a really hard time, and it's an extra crucial time to be taking care of our mental health. But it's not just all, in our heads. It actually affects our bodies so much, more than you would ever think it does. And today I'm actually going to be jumping into some specific mental illnesses like depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, and how those can directly affect our bodies. So when I was doing some research for today's episode, I actually fell upon this story of this man who, he went into a therapy session because he didn't know, he didn't think that he was depressed, but his wife thought that he was depressed. And he goes, I don't understand, why she thinks I'm depressed. I'm not sad. I'm not lonely. I'm not nothing. I am totally fine. I just don't understand, right? And so he sat down with the therapist, and they started talking, and basically the therapist tells this story that, he was right. He didn't seem like he was sad or depressed or anything like that, but there was so many things going wrong with his body. He was always lethargic. He was always tired, which is definitely a symptom of depression, of course. But there was multiple other things that were actually wrong with his body, and you could tell in his body that he was depressed. But he didn't have more of your stereotypical regular symptoms of depression. He had a lot of body symptoms. And so he was depressed, but he was depressed in a different way, I guess, right? And we all handle our emotions differently. Mental illnesses affect us all differently. It's not something that's kind of straight across the board. There definitely is a lot of information that is all the same, but we all handle situations differently. We all cope with situations differently, and it always affects us all differently, of course. And so you could be depressed and you might not feel it in your head. You might not feel it in your mind. You might not feel sad or depressed or in that kind of state, but you could be depressed and you just don't even know, but your body is telling you that you are. I know it's kind of a weird concept, but I'm going to be jumping all into that information today, including some stuff about anxiety and schizophrenia and all these different types of mental illnesses and how it is so closely linked to our physical health. Like I said, there is definitely a lot of different links between mental and physical health that I've talked about, but the one most kind of, I would say, straight up and clear point is that the longevity. So many studies have found that mental health challenges such as, schizophrenia, depression, all these different types of illnesses, if you have some of these illnesses, then you tend to live shorter lives compared to people who don't have these conditions. So that's kind of I would say the most basic connection between our mental and physical health. If you are constantly in a not good mental state, that is going to directly affect your life expectancy, right? And so that's going to affect our physical health. But it's not just about longevity. That's not the only connection. There's so many specific connections that happen through our mind and our body that we actually just don't even understand. Like I said, the man had no idea that he was depressed, but it was in his body. So he was showing different types of symptoms. So I hope I'm going to share some information with you today that maybe you will recognize, and maybe it'll teach you something new, or, it might make you check in on somebody that, oh yeah, I kind of recognize these symptoms, because it's a little bit different than what you would originally expect as depression symptoms or things that affect us, but they're all so closely linked. And so I really want to talk about just how closely linked they really are. And then of course, like usual, I will talk about, some different tips and things. It's basically the power of positive emotions and how it affects our physical health and our physical well-being. I'm also going to be talking about some lifestyle factors and some choices that we all make that are directly linked to mental and physical health as well. But yeah, I got lots of information that is coming for you. So let's just jump right in. I'm super excited to be sharing all this today with you. So like I said, basically obviously our minds and our bodies are so closely linked in so many different reasons, but the Mental Health Foundation actually reported that schizophrenia is associated with a triple risk of dying from a respiratory disease and a double risk of dying from a form of heart disease. Depression has been linked to a 50% increase in a person's risk of dying from cancer and a 67% increase from heart disease. So these conditions all have a significant impact on your life expectancies. And we don't realize how much our mental health is affecting other things in our body. It's not just about our minds or anything like that. You're going to feel it throughout your entire body, some more than others, of course. So the first thing I want to talk about is depression, and I have 4 very particular things of how, depression is linked to our physical bodies. So number 1, I talked about this on a recent episode, but depression is influenced by the bacteria in our guts. On the episode of how food improves our mental health, I talked about how it's all in our guts. It's all about our guts. And so we have to make sure that we are fueling our bodies correctly so that we can have this good bacteria in our guts, because it's the bacteria in our guts that can affect our mental health. So basically when something makes you unhappy or worried, and you kind of, we always say, oh, what's that feeling? You trust your gut, listen to your gut. You have that gut feeling, your intuition, that gut, you always hear constantly, trust your gut, listen to your gut. What's your gut saying? What's your gut feeling? This is literally because your gut is giving you emotions. It is so directly closely linked to your mental health and your emotions and everything that you're feeling that it is literally telling you basically what to do, which is kind of freaky when you think about it. And sometimes it's not as easy to connect that. Like, a lot of people have a hard time listening to their gut. I am still trying to learn how to listen to my gut because I have not quite connected myself to my gut as some other people have. Some other people go, oh, no, my gut told me that was a no-go. I definitely said no to that. And I'm like, how is your gut telling you this? And this is all about, being aware of yourself and connecting with yourself. But, sorry, I'm rambling on again. But depression is influenced by the bacteria in your gut. So basically, our closest collaborators in our bodies is our brain and our gut. They are literally the closest collaborators, which sounds really weird, but they're connected by this nerve, which is actually basically two bundles of nerves, then it serves as they call it an information highway between the brain and the gut. So it basically passes information in both directions about hormones, brain chemicals, and the bacteria that play with our feelings. So yes, your bacteria is directly influencing your mood, which is why I talked all about how we need to be fueling ourselves properly, because you are influencing your mood directly by what you are absorbing into your body. So this connection is quite complicated, obviously, your brain to your gut and how your bacteria in your gut influences your mood. There's a lot of scientific things that I won't jump into, but what I will talk about is that there are 100 trillion bacteria in each of our guts, and that influences our serotonin, which is of course, a very important thing that we need for our mental health. So we also know that, stress and all of that is all playing factors into our guts. So the more research that they have done, they're basically saying that you need to improve your gut bacteria for your better mental health. So basically, of course, like always, that they always tell you is make sure you're eating whole foods, you're eating a nutritious diet, you got to take care of your body, because if you take care of your body, it's going to also take care of your mind. And when you're taking care of your mind, it's going to take care of your body. It all goes hand in hand, right? So they're always saying focus on your gut. Have you ever heard of gut flora? I talked about, eating good probiotics, good yogurt, nothing with added sugar. Things that are going to help your gut is actually going to directly improve your mood and then improve your depression or any kind of mental illness like that. So it's definitely, not a quick fix to try to, I have depression. If I just focus on my gut, it'll all go away. No, that's not what I'm saying, but it all is kind of, it all comes one in one. It all influences each other. So yes, if you're eating a proper, nutritious, healthy diet that is great for the bacteria in your gut, it will improve your mood and it will help with your depression. Okay, so that's number one. I have 3 more direct links with depression and our bodies. So it's time for a little bit of break, but when we get back, I will jump in to the next 3 direct links. So stay tuned. Don't go anywhere.
Are you tired of the same old news? Are you sick of the seemingly endless political spin and negativity? The GSMC America's Still Beautiful podcast is a weekly news podcast covering all the top positive and uplifting news stories. We cover stories that will inspire, uplift, and remind you of the good in the world. Tune into the Golden State Media Concepts America's Still Beautiful podcast to get all the great and positive news stories of today. Download the GSMC America's Still Beautiful podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Welcome back to GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Alyssa Jo, and we are talking all about the relationship with our mental health and our bodies, the direct links with particular mental illnesses. Right now, we're talking about depression and how it is so directly linked to our bodies. And so I just talked about our gut bacteria and how that affects our mood directly. And now the next link I want to talk to you about is people with depression have a very weird relationship with temperature. Okay, so let me rewind a little bit. It's a cold winter night. It's snowing, or maybe you don't live where there's snow is, but for me, when I think of a cold winter night, I think of a snowstorm outside. I think of cuddling up on a couch with some tea or a hot chocolate, getting in my fuzzy blanket, putting my fuzzy socks on, grabbing my hot mug and cuddling up and watching a movie. And isn't that such a good feeling to cuddle up on the couch and watch a movie, get all cozy and warm. We are so sensitive to temperature as humans in general, but you know that feeling you get when you get to cuddle up and get all cozy? That is literally your brain sending you signals of happiness. I'm not even kidding. So, you get all cozy up and it's just such a good feeling. It brings you pleasure to have this, this heat, to be all cozy, because there are heat sensitive sensors in our skin that communicate with our brains. So basically the heat sensitive sensors that are in our skin, they communicate with our brain, and specifically to some of the brain areas that are involved with our moods. So when you wrap your hands around your mug and you cuddle up in your fuzzy blanket with your fuzzy socks, these parts of your brains light up, and then that's bringing you more pleasure and joy. It's like that moment of delight of, this is a good, comfortable feeling. So people with depression have kind of a weird relationship with temperature. So in general, people with depression are less, their thermosystem is less active. I don't think that's the right term, but their thermosystem is a little bit less active than people that are not battling depression. So they have a higher core body temperatures, and so they're less able to sweat. And as humans, sweating is our body's automatic way to regulate our temperature. So basically, if someone struggling with depression is cozying up with their hot mug in the winter on a snowy night and their fuzzy socks, they have less of those brain responses to touching the heat with their skin and getting all cozy. So they're not getting those moments of the delight and the joy that others get. But there are, successful treatments of depression. They basically restore the body's normal ability to thermoregulate. So it's basically evidence that we can directly use heat to treat depression, which is crazy. So there was a recent Journal of the American Medical Association study, and it gave depressed participants just one session of whole body heat treatment using infrared heat. And the study showed that even after just a whole week later, the participants who received this heat treatment showed that they were experiencing way less depressive symptoms, and it was all because of this heat treatment. So if you are struggling with depression, a very inexpensive way to get some relief, maybe just like taking a hot bath, do some hot yoga, get warm. If you live in a hot area, go sit in the sun. First of all, vitamin D, super helpful for depression, but sitting in the sun, getting hot and sweaty and heating it up, it can actually directly make you feel better. Or go for a bath, cozy up in your blanket. You might not get as many delights when you wrap your hands around a mug, but it is helpful. So it's kind of a cool way that you can treat your own depression. None of these two are quick, easy fixes, but these are just ways that you can improve your mental health. Now, the next one I want to talk about is depressed people actually feel more pain. So depression is painful itself, right? It's emotionally and physically painful. If someone's going to describe depression, I'm sure pain is probably in the description, for most people at least. It's just a painful thing to experience in general. And it's actually like people with depression really do experience more pain than people without depression. So they have a lower threshold for pain, basically. So it basically takes less pressure, heat, or other types of kind of, discomfort to cause a level of pain that feels quite unbearable. So there was another recent study in the Journal of Pain that basically tested the perceptions of over 700 people that were actively in the middle of a depressive episode. About 450 never depressed controlled subjects. So they induced pain through pressure to the index finger and found that depressed individuals expressed pain at a lower pressure than the non-depressed participants. So basically, they were able to relate this to depressed groups' worse sleep and lower physical activity, both are which, common symptoms of depression. And so it's kind of difficult to say that getting a better sleep or increasing your physical activity would help with your pain perception, but the study does directly test this. So basically, get a better sleep, and exercise won't hurt you, and it can help with your pain tolerance and experiencing that type of pain if you are depressed. But if you are depressed and you do realize you experience more pain, physically, not just from your depressive symptoms, then that is completely normal. Don't be alarmed, because it's true. Depressed people feel a little bit more pain. And now the last link I want to talk to you about with depression is that depressed people may literally not see as clearly. First of all, depression kind of clouds your vision mentally, right? You're not thinking properly. You're not making the right decisions. You feel like a fog is in your head constantly. But literally, depression can impact your eyesight in a negative way. So depression, it's quite dark, right? It's quite that foggy, like I said, in your head, and things making look a little bit grayer and darker, but it can actually make things look more blurry as well. So there was another study that compared non-depressed people with those with depression had less contrast sensitivity. So their eyes were less responsive to contrast between light and dark blocks in a pattern. So they measured that the pattern, is basically with this eyes response. So 40 depressed people and 40 healthy people, not only they found that the depressed group had less contrast sensitivity, but the severity of depression mattered as well. So the higher someone's depression score, the lower their contrast sensitivity. So this is they don't really know exactly why this is, but it's even harder to say, what you can do about it. So there is, some more research that is being done directly with eyesight and depression and all of this, but basically you just want to make sure that you're taking care of yourself physically. So for people who, that you're depressed, understanding these physical things that can help, or physical things that can be affected, can really help you, because the more you understand, hey, I am kind of weird with temperature. Oh, my pain tolerance. Yeah, you're right. Oh, my eyes are kind of blurry. Understanding that these are all a part of mental health and mental illness, that can just help you better understand what you're going through. And, you can seek your own type of help that you need. You might not be experiencing all of these direct links to your body, but now that you're aware of them, you can help yourself in little ways, like taking that hot bath and understanding your pain tolerance. You're not so hard on yourself about it. But if you are someone, you don't feel like you're depressed, you don't feel sad, you don't feel like you're in that mental state, but these, you might have clued into some of these, hey, I am really weird with temperature, or, I do feel quite foggy and achy and all this stuff, right? It might not be you're having a bad month. It might be that you are mentally ill and that you want to seek help, or that you want to try to improve your mental health for yourself. These signs are, it's just to help people recognize that, depression symptoms aren't the same across the board for everybody. It can be different for everybody. So you might have recognized something within yourself or with somebody else, and these are just, things to think about. So either you're not worrying as much about yourself, you have more coping mechanisms now from this, or you recognize, hey, maybe I do need to take a little bit better care of my mental health and pay closer attention to it, because maybe you checked all the boxes. Who knows, right? Okay, it is time though for a little bit of a break, but when we get back, I am going to touch a little bit more on mental illness and the direct link to heart disease and cancer and different kind of mental illnesses that all link those together. Depression, anxiety, cancer, mortality rates, those type of things. But then I'll jump into some lifestyle factors that are going to be affecting your mental and physical health. And then, of course, to end on a very light and happy note, I'm going to give you some more tips to help you create a healthy body and mind. So don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. All right, we are back, and I got lots more information to share with you before the episode's done, so let's jump right back into it. So there was a study that was done to show the link between severe mental illnesses like schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, major depression, and the link it has to cardiovascular disease. So this study, basically researchers analyzed data from 3.2 million people living with severe mental illness, that they were at about 53% higher risk for having cardiovascular disease than those who didn't have mental illness. So the risk of dying from the disease was also 85% higher than people of a similar age in that general population. Now depression, anxiety, and cancer mortality rates. There was another study that was done about this and the link between all of that, says that high levels of mental distress and an increased risk of dying, it leads to an increased risk of dying from cancer. So these researchers conducted all of this data. They looked at data from about 16 population-based studies. They measured the mental health of people through some questionnaires, and they basically indicate different levels of depression and anxiety and who had not been diagnosed with cancer. And they followed those people up for about a 10-year average period and tracked whether they died from cancer, basically drawing the data from which type of cancer. And the researchers took into account, different potential factors that could distort, like data, like just the age, the sex, body mass index, education, smoking, alcoholic consumption, all those things. So they weighed in all these factors, but they did find that there is a very high link between mental distress and an increased risk of dying from cancer. Now, I'm not sharing this information with you to scare you or to stress you out. This is just something to be aware of and to understand, because there's just so much information about mental health that we don't understand, and I feel like the more we educate ourselves, the easier it is to handle and to get a grasp on these things and to not worry about them. Knowing this information, I hope it doesn't stress you out. I hope it makes you feel better because you're educated about it now. I just really hope I'm not trying to scare you or stress you out or anything. It's just these are all closely linked, and so understanding how physical and mental health is so closely linked can help you take care of yourself and take care of others physically and mentally. So that's just really what I'm trying to do here. I just had to add that in because it sounds a little bit scary, but these are just studies and information that has been done, but it doesn't mean, it's going to happen to everyone or happen to every single person that's mentally ill. These are just things that have happened, and it's smart to be aware of. Now let's just jump into some lifestyle factors that can influence the state of your physical and your mental health. So of course, the, most, typical one that you probably think of is your exercise and your diet. So I always talk about, making sure you're staying physically healthy, and how that can improve your mental health. Exercising directly helps your mental health, which there's so much information about that. I'm sure you heard even just going for a simple walk or going for a run or lifting some weights or anything like that directly improves your mental health. And so when you're in a good physical state too, it just helps improve your mental state. So making sure that you are staying active, and it doesn't even mean like going to the gym or, you don't have to go to the gym and lift weights to improve your mental health. It's keeping that active lifestyle. So, simple things like taking the stairs instead of the elevator, going, walking your dog, taking that 20-minute walk, or, walking to the store if you can instead of driving, or, just simple things like that we do, that we sometimes we get lazy and we hop in the car to drive, a 20-minute walk instead of just walking there and coming back. And so it's just making sure that you're implementing simple lifestyle choices like going for the walk or taking the stairs or something like that. That can help improve your mental and your physical health as well. Physical activity means, it's just moving your body. So use your muscles, expand your energy. Even if you're gardening or you are deciding to run a marathon, it doesn't matter what you're doing. Any kind of form of exercise is going to significantly improve your quality of life. So definitely make sure that you're always staying physically active. And then diet, I talked about how it directly affects your gut. I have a whole episode of specific foods that help improve your mental health, but just eating a healthy and balanced diet is going to make you feel mentally and physically better. It's going to fuel your body with the right nutrients that you need to carry yourself and to move on with your day and all that stuff, but it's also going to help you think clearly. It's going to help you be in a happier state. Have you ever eaten a bunch of junk food and you're like, oh, that was really good in the time, but then you feel you might feel sad, and it's not just because you ate all the junk food. You just feel down, or you feel anxious, or you feel just kind of off. It's because all of the ingredients that are in all that food, it is not good for your mental health. So always make sure you're eating a well-balanced, nutritious diet. And then I want to talk about smoking, okay? Smoking, of course, has a negative impact on your physical health and your mental health as well. Many people with mental health problems believe that smoking kind of relieves your symptoms, which, it's because it's kind of a stress reliever, right? A lot of people smoke a cigarette because it helps them calm down. It helps them maybe with their anxiety or dealing with stuff that's going on. But people with depression are twice as likely to actually smoke than other people are. And people with schizophrenia are 3 times as likely to smoke as other people. So nicotine in cigarettes interferes with the chemicals in our brains. So dopamine is, the chemical that influences our positive feelings, and is often, it's found to be lower in people with depression, right? So nicotine temporarily increases the levels of your dopamine, but then it switches off the brain's natural mechanism for making the chemical. So basically in long term, it can make a person feel as though they need more and more nicotine in order to repeat this positive sensation, right? You have your cigarette, you feel good, but it's actually long-term effects are not great. It might be a quick fix in the morning, or at the time being, but it doesn't help you long-term. Of course, smoking has physical health, physical factors as well that's not good for you, but it does directly affect your mental health. And so trying to find different coping mechanisms, different things that can help you with your stress or your anxiety or give you that little bit of delight that you need. We got to try to find other different things that we can cope with. Now I just want to talk a little bit about the power of positive emotions. So positive emotions and feeling good is going to help your body also feel good. Okay, so positive emotions correlate with, our mental state, but it's also kind of the opposite as well. So negative emotions correlate with a person's physical well-being. So stress is basically the perfect example. So chronic stress can wear down your body over time. Even short-lived spurts of minor stress, such as, just your temporary stomach aches, that can all have an impact. But negative emotions such as, anger, they found that they directly correlate with heart attacks and other physical problems, and that can sometimes lead to death. So having these negative emotions you're not just, feeling it in your head, but your entire body is being affected by the negative emotions that you are feeling. So finding those healthy coping mechanisms to try to filter those emotions out. I always say journal, write things down, get some exercise, find something that works for you, but it is all directly closely linked. So make sure you are paying attention to, now too that you know this information, you might kind of pay more attention to yourself. When I'm angry, do I feel physically okay? You're going to be paying more attention to your mental and physical states and how they are connected, because you will be surprised at how you feel really sad, and then maybe something in your body is hurting, and you're like, why is that hurting? I didn't do anything to it. But your mental power, your mental state has such a strong impact on your physical state that all of a sudden you could be in a lot of pain physically, and it has nothing to do with your physical body. It has everything to do with your mental health. So always try to, look at your mental state, look at your emotions. How are you feeling today? And how is that going to be affecting your physical body? So, of course, making sure that you are, exercising regularly, eating your healthy diet, and then, of course, maintaining a normal sleep schedule. These are all 3 very basic but very crucial things that we can be doing to help create that healthy body and mind. If you're not exercising regularly, your mental state's not going to be great, and your physical state's not going to be great. If you're not eating a healthy diet, your mental state's not going to be great, and your physical state's not going to be great. And then when you don't have a normal sleep schedule, same thing. Your mental and physical state are not in a great place. So making sure that you are taking care of yourself, those are the 3 main steps to making sure that you're creating a healthy body and mind for yourself. And then, of course, always reach out for support. Even if you're having physical problems, reach out for support. You're having mental problems, reach out for support. There are so many resources and things out there that can help you with your mental and your physical state. It's all related together, and you should never feel like you have to deal with it alone or try to learn about it on your own. There's so many things to educate yourself on with it, and just so many things to be aware of. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I really enjoyed talking to you today about mental health. Like I said at the beginning of this episode, it is something I'm extremely passionate about, and I actually just released a mental health awareness documentary. It's up on my YouTube channel if you want to check it out. My YouTube is Alyssa Jo Soloski, so ALYSSAJOSOLOSKI. It is called Behind Closed Doors, the Mental Health Awareness Documentary, and it is, I had to do it during COVID-19, and so it's definitely not exactly what I expected it to come out, but given the circumstances and everything, some amazing people got to be a part of it, and I'm really, really happy with the awareness and the education that came out of it. You learn more about both sides. In the documentary, I have 2 personal stories, and then I have 2 professionals too. So I kind of get both sides in the documentary. Anyways, go check that out if you were interested in some more mental health awareness. I would love for you to see it. It is something, like I said, I'm super passionate about, and I'm going to continue to be doing more episodes about mental health, because the more we can educate each other and the more information that is shared and spread, the more awareness there is and the less stigma. So that is all the information I have for you today. Thank you so much for listening to GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Alyssa Jo. I truly, truly appreciate you being here so much. Thank you. Please do not forget to hit that subscribe button, to like and follow us on social media, and leave a 5-star review. I can't wait to share more information with you next time. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Life and Happiness Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find the show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type in GSMC to find all of our shows. From the GSMC Podcast Network, from sex and relationships to health and wellness, life and happiness, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's episode of the Golden State Media Concepts Life and Happiness Podcast.